Alright, before I start up this video, I think I should explain the new little style. I'm trying out a new recording method for this. That way it'll be a little easier for me to not have to render out all these videos. In order to do this, what I usually do is I would just record my entire screen and then just crop the footage to the Askreddit page and then stretch it out and then render that out. So it wasn't really all that edit intensive, but the rendering part does take a while because these videos are usually about 20 minutes long. So what I'm trying to do instead is just do it all in one take with OBS, because I don't really edit the parts out where I stop, where I mess up with my speech anyway. So what I thought I would do is just put a background in, since it's a little square anyway and I can't stretch it out with the video capture software, but instead just have a little background to it. And the background I chose is just, I'm not a really big fan of it. I might change it to something else. If you know of a really cool background I can use that's somewhat Reddit themed, I can just use that instead for the borders. But as it is now, putting it full screen with Google Chrome would just look weird because there's just nothing but crap on the sides and just lots of blank space. I think it looks better if it's centered like this. So whatever, that's a really long exposition. You guys probably don't care. This is just going to be the way these videos are going to be from now on, because it'll be quicker for me to actually upload them, and it will save me a lot of time rendering. Non-Americans of Reddit. What's something you've always wanted to say to / ask an American? Is chicken and waffles really a thing? A delicious one, yes. What? People put chicken on waffles? It's fried chicken. Chicken and waffles. Is that really a thing? I don't think I've ever had that before. That sounds good. I love chicken and I love waffles. Have you ever eaten street hot dog vendors' hot dogs, and are they good? Street food is actually very good in the US. The street carts in NYC are worth seeking out. Gosh, yes. Oh, the best hot dog I've ever had was from a street vendor. What the dude did was, okay, so each hot dog cost about $3. The guy would make the hot dogs wrapped in bacon, and then he'd put it in this really good bun, and then he'd just put a whole crap ton of toppings on it. Turns out just putting mustard and ketchup on a hot dog isn't the best. It's the best when you put a crap ton of other toppings on it. Oh man, those hot dogs are so good. They're totally worth the $3. What's up with people from Florida? Is Florida like a special remedial state where you send all of your batshit crazy citizens? It's where a lot of our elder people go to retire. Also Arizona for the dry heat. That's where a lot of our elder people go to play golf, and where a lot of slutty girls come from. Tinderland in Florida played golf with old people. I think it's also the only state where people get caught publicly raping puppies. What? Oh, that's gross. Florida has the most expansive open government policies, which makes obtaining information on government activities easy. This means government information is almost entirely accessible by the public. This includes arrest records and details of the arrest. That level of transparency allows media to easily pick crazy stories for headlines and broadcast them all over the globe. When only Florida has this level of transparency compared to other states, it makes it look like it's the only place with crazy crimes. But in reality, all states have their share of crazies, although I will admit Florida may be a little crazier. I've never heard this before. Do you have any other states that come close to this level of transparency? I think I have actually heard this before, because on the Cox and Crendor podcast, they read stuff from Florida man all the time. Does the watch it for the commercials phenomena, e.g. during the Super Bowl, actually exist? Do people actually enjoy watching commercials? This is quite often portrayed in the media, but I always thought it was a ploy to make people pay more attention to commercials / make them likable. Edit, thanks for all the answers. I'll try to watch the next one to see what I've been missing on. Yes, the production value and creativity of Super Bowl commercials is top notch. They can still be hit or miss. It costs so much to get a commercial to air during the Super Bowl, so the stakes are high. Usually we hate commercials, but during the Super Bowl, they are awesome. We'll agree. Don't watch Super Bowl for the football. I do watch for the commercials, though. Okay, I don't really watch it even for the commercials. I should say I watch the funny commercials online afterwards. How do you drive 2 hours to work every morning? For me, this would be the equivalent of driving half my country. Damn. How do you drive? That would be insane to drive that much. I used to have to drive 45 minutes to my work, now that I think about it. Audiobooks and podcasts. I can't relate to this personally, but I know someone who earns about $15 an hour and drives 2 hours one way to work. For her, she had a specific career goal in mind. Her current plan of employment is the only one that took an interest in her. Similar facilities in her area either were not hiring or passed her on. It stinks, but some people do make sacrifices like these to put bread on the table. For 2 hours driving to work, I'd buy a camper and live under the week there. Live under the week there? At a previous job, we had a guy drive 3 hours to work on Monday, stay in a hotel all week, go home on Friday. He did this every day for at least 5 years. Damn. Apparently, it's not that uncommon. I had a roommate years ago who owned a house in the next state over. Her contract job was only a few months, so she would stay here for the work week and go home to her family on the weekends. Oh, I have a friend who does that. She goes to school like in a city, and then she drives back into the middle of nowhere where she lives. My dad did this for a few years. My grandfather lived in the same city he was working, so my dad just stayed with him. This happens a lot in Los Angeles because cost of rent is so high. People would rather drive 2 hours every day and pay less rent in another area. But a 2-hour drive to LA means you live like 5 miles from LA. Is it common for schools to do the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, or is that just something we see in the movies? In Texas, we also pledge to the state flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Nope, that's how it really is. Yep, can agree. Did that for all the years I was in school. Yep, did every morning from elementary to high school. You stop thinking about what you're saying and just say it. Wow, this really amazes me. I couldn't imagine doing this where I live. It sort of feels like brainwashing to me. Yep. Since there is only political questions, why are your burgers so extremely superior to everyone else? Our cows are fatter and larger. Fat is flavor. That, and we've been perfecting this shit for over a century. Are checks still a common thing? The impression I get from American entertainment, etc., is that they are, and if so, why? I live in Norway and have never seen a check during my 26 years. Ever since I was a kid, people have always used debit cards or cash. Nowadays, the majority only use debit cards. And the paycheck has always been an automatic transfer from the employer to the employee's bank account. Of course, if you go further back in time, people used to get a plastic bag with money. Checks are generally used to transfer large sums of money. You might pay rent with a check, some employers pay with checks, or you might pay your bills with checks, but they are rarely used for regular transactions. Like, you'll pretty much never see someone pay for the meal at a restaurant with a check, unless they're really old, and a lot of restaurants and stores don't accept checks anymore. Oh, I used to get paid in a check at my old job when I didn't have the direct transfer set up. See, as a Brit, even the things you're talking about just aren't done generally here anymore. We set up direct debits or standing orders to pay things like rent. Our salaries are put directly into our bank accounts. Large transactions are paid for via credit card. Oh, and chip and pin. How do you guys not have that? We'll swipe and sign. We even have contactless payments for purchases under $20. Why do our news readers talk so loudly and over-exaggerated? Seriously, it's so different compared to Irish news readers. The same reason clickbait titles exist, to get people's attention. The fear-mongering and sensationalism is awful, though. I refuse to watch the news. I find out everything I need to know online. Oh, I feel like my nose is popping or something. I can hear like a little bubbling sound every time I talk. I wonder what that is. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to read about the news. Northern Euro currently visiting. I just have one argument with this whole thing. No one puts the real price on anything. This is infuriating. Here I am, the exact amount, and they said resort fees and tax, all sort of hidden costs. Just post the right fucking price. I will still pay it. As an American, I completely agree. That's hard because there isn't one tax rate for everything. Towns, cities, and states can all have different taxes. I can drive 10 minutes away and pay a lower tax. That still doesn't account for things like hotels I stay at in Las Vegas. No, the tax on the room and the resort fees, yet they advertise the room price. Only add those to the bill at the very end of the transaction, whereas in Europe, a price post online is the price. I guess just one of those things I'm used to in our system, so I get irritated at your kind of thing. Yeah, the tax thing is kind of a pain in the ass. Why aren't more viewers on the Ask an American? For the most part, do Americans get on well with British people? I've been thinking about it, and a lot of what me and my friends say is quite sarcastic or playfully offensive, and I'm not sure I'd get away with that so much in America. In my experience, yes, as it is quite obvious you are not French. Excellent. It's good to see we can bond over mutual hatred of the French. Yeah, what is the thing with France? Never understood that. I mean, they gave you the Statue of Liberty, yes. They would give us Statue of Liberty, wouldn't they? Fucking French people. I don't understand what's up with them either. I know, just look at those assholes trying to be all respectful and shit. Lost French, the French will never forget. Oh. What is going on in American cemeteries? That was something I wanted to ask Americans for a while, but I could never figure out until recently. I've told this story here before, but here it is again in case someone finds it interesting. I'll leave the edits too. Warning, wall of text. First of all, English is not my first language, but I do consider myself fluent at it. I watch all movies and TV shows in English and stuff. Well, you get the idea. I've been on Reddit for a while, was a lurker long before I created the account. I'm a dig refugee, and I enjoy reading Askreddit stories. However, there was something I couldn't understand very well. In many threads, I could see the amount of people in America that would work in cemeteries. It was massive. I don't get why they needed so many people working there. And it wasn't just burying or guarding. It was all sorts of jobs people are doing there. I thought at first that it would be only in populations with a very high density, or maybe with the highest crime rate. Maybe people were shooting each other so much they needed a ton of workers for the dead. And all sort of specialists too. Or maybe it's just that there were very few cemeteries in big cities, but they were just huge. I've been to the States 3 or 4 times before, but I've never thought about visiting a cemetery. In some countries, they are considered tourist attractions almost, like Père-Lachaise Cemetery in Paris. I'm pretty sure I didn't say that right at all. I knew that the next time I go to the States, I have to go see one of those cemeteries. I mean, what kind of tombs they have there that they need electricians, IT, engineers, some of them even had restaurants. Is the obesity problem so bad that people need to eat when they go pay respects to their dead? So many different jobs for what should be a simple place for the dead to rest. I seriously spent months trying to figure out an American cemetery since the websites didn't show them as all that impressive. I could imagine them being some sort of theme park for the dead. I needed to see one for real. And then one day, a random Redditor for a random reason explained what is the actual meaning of a graveyard shift. A graveyard shift. Oh, that's great. I wasn't expecting that. Apparently, I'm not the only one who didn't know the meaning. Who knew? A graveyard shift is a shift of work running through the early hours of the morning, especially one from midnight until 8 a.m. To people saying you should have just Googled it, the reason why I started the story with I consider myself fluent in English is because I think I know the language pretty well, and I knew what the term was. There was never confusion about it in my mind. Would you Google travel agent? No, because you know what it is. Same here. I knew what the term graveyard shift meant. It obviously is someone who works in a cemetery. What else could it mean? That's hilarious. I'm British, and for the first 2/3 of your post, you totally had me hooked. I nearly began to believe the U.S. cemeteries did have restaurants and offices and shit. I'm American. I started wondering, do our cemeteries really have that much going on? I haven't been to one in years. Sounds like you're overdue for a cemetery trip. Wow, dude, that's hilarious. That was... This is oddly adorable. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. Before this turns into a hate thread, how do you stay awake on those straight roads? They have sleep bumps in the middle of the road so your car veers off. It makes a really loud humming noise as your tires drive on them, making you wake up. We also have plenty of rest stops so you can crash out at. They have showers and restrooms there as well. Adderall, coffee, caffeine, cigs, music, the open window, smell of fresh air. How do people just get Adderall out of nowhere? I've tried to get that stuff before, but you need a prescription for it. So I just stuck with caffeine pills. What do you think the American dream really is? If you work hard, you can give your children a better life than you had. Recently, it's a concept that politicians bastardize to support their preferred positions. My parents achieved that. My life was so good, my children will be lucky to have half a life as good. It doesn't matter where you come from or who your parents are or what their social status is. If you apply yourself, you can do whatever you want with your life. To work hard to give your children a better life than you had. See, all I would have to do is not do drugs, and I can give my children a better life than I had. It's not really setting the bar very high. A notion pretty much the same world over, especially in other developed nations. Yeah, unless you live in a place where there is a caste system ingrained in our society. Largely, the American dream concept applies most to immigrants coming from third world nations or places torn by war. Other developed nations lack the concept of free enterprise. A lot of liberal places in the US have destroyed the notion as well. But there's a reason companies like Uber have started here. No matter how close the ties between government and taxi thugs have been, Uber has been very successful in many cities. In Paris, cab drivers ostracize assaults on Uber drivers. And no matter how much I like European society, they don't seem that willing to allow free market innovations unless they come from established business. Why is every shower control different? When I went there, it was so frustrating figuring out how to work each one. Why not just have a hot and cold tap? They are all different. I never thought about that. I sometimes feel like every shower I've ever been in has a different setup. I'm with you on this one. Do Irish accents turn women on? Yes, as do British and Australian accents. In Z accents, probably think you're Australian or British. I am Australia, living in US, can confirm. Oh yeah, I love accents. I don't know anyone who doesn't. What's the deal with cookie dough and imperial units? We've actually tried to convert to the metric system in the 1970s, but it didn't work out for whatever reason. You can see this metric campaign parodies in some Peanut comics from time. Do you guys ever just leave money on the bar and walk away, or is that just in the movies? Tips, yes. If it is a place you're familiar with and the bar is busy, it is accessible just to leave it on the bar as well. Some bartenders might not like that, but I personally wouldn't mind as long as it's all there. People have answered that question, so I'll take to the next step. When you see this happen, you do not dare touch that money. This nation seems very determined to help / support our waiters, waitresses, and bartenders. So you do not fuck with their money. That's why it's accessible to just leave money on the table. Those types of jobs usually pay less than minimum wage, significantly less, / not enough to even feed yourselves. So those tips make up most of their pay. My first day as a waiter, an older waiter said, "Hey, table 4 left you an X dollar tip." I don't recall how much it was, but his point seemed to be that it was a great tip and I'd better hurry up and collect it. If I recall, it was a good tip, but not anything out of the ordinary. I was suspicious of that fucking waiter immediately. I was thinking, keep your eyes on your own tips, jackass. Wasn't long after he was fired, reportedly for stealing tips. Yeah, I feel like if you steal someone's tips in this country, you're asking to have a lynch mob on you. How does health insurance work? Do you just walk into a hospital and show them your insurance? Is everything covered? Can you choose cheaper care if you're poor? Oh, that's a funny one. As someone who didn't have health insurance, one who's playing football and got injured, just got to tough it out. It's complicated and sucks as much as it sounds. You go in and provide your insurance information and get seen by a doctor. At the end, the fun begins. First, you pay the copay. It's usually a small amount and you have to pay, though often regular checkups and preventative measures like vaccines don't have a copay. The doctor then bills your insurance company. Your email insurance examines the claim and covers percent based on your plan. Then you get billed for the difference up to your maximum deductible. Of course, I think he's kind of missing some letters here. There's also a benefit cap which is the most the insurance will pay in a given time period. Depends on the procedure type and your coverage. Also, if you go to an out-of-network doctor, one that doesn't have pre-negotiated price with your insurance, you might also have to pay the difference between actual pricing and in-network pricing, which is not factored into your deductible. That's my understanding of it. As a 35-year-old who has used insurance but not much, or CIGD, depends on factors such as copay, benefit caps, and deductibles. Of the deductibles can also mean how much you have to pay yourself before the insurance company pays anything. The Affordable Care Act eliminated the caps. Why is the water in your toilet so high? Why don't more people have electric kettles to boil water? How many people boil it on a stovetop? Why would I need a kettle? I don't drink tea. It takes ages to get water boiling for pasta on the stove. Much quicker to pop it in a jug. What about instant coffee, hot chocolate? A kettle is just a staple kitchen appliance. Maybe for people who drink tea all the time. Why is Texas so unique, special, and popular? I believe you ask non-Americans, name one U.S. state, most of them will know Texas. I'd say it's because Texas makes people think of the stereotypical American stereotype, strong, surly cowboy who loves his country. In addition to what others have stated in this thread, Texas was also an independent nation for a time after fighting for independence from Mexico. Their time as a sovereign nation was short-lived, 10 years, but I think this contributes to the pride and independent spirit you see in that state. As a Texan, our state has, and a sometimes obnoxious amount of pride. If someone aboard asks a Texan where they come from, they'll tell you Texas before they say they're an American. Texas is bigger than every other state except Alaska. Texan kids have a whole year-long class of nothing but Texas history. They're ingrained with this "we're special" attitude. There's a kind of culture here of being self-sufficient and being big and rich, like the stereotypical American dream in action. I guess it's natural that a Texan would think of themselves as the most American Americans. Texas has flown 6 different flags in its time. The history there is definitely interesting. Spain, France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the Confederate States of America, and the United States of America. Speaking as a Malaysian, do you guys just fuck each other around age 14 and just brush it off as a common thing? Well, what? Average age of first sex is 17. I don't know if most people brush it off, but yeah, it's fairly common to have sex late in high school. It's not a huge deal unless you make it one. Most sex happens in relations of significant length. Tagging on to that, average age of firstborn childbirth is 25. Average age of first marriage is 27 in the States. That's a 2012. Wow. That's pretty good. I thought it'd be earlier than that. It's really common to have sex late in high school. No one told me. Wait, is American view that way in Asia? It is pretty much the opposite here in Europe. I always found it weird how in the movies it seems like you're supposed to lose your virginity in college. From a completely foreign perspective, Australia, I always thought the Europeans were the most sexually open, followed by Americans, then East/Southeast Asians. As an American, I always thought Europeans were more sexually open than us. Having befriended several Europeans when they were over here, their attitudes really reinforced this. ITT, American liberals answered questions targeted at American conservatives. Non-American, why don't you guys have universal healthcare and strict gun laws? American, because everyone here is stupid and USA sucks. Lol. I have a few. Can someone accurately describe American high schools, like from experience, because it sure can't be like they show in movies? Why are there strict class divides between nerds, jocks, popular kids, etc.? Though everyone has to be part of those? What are airline miles and why seemingly everyone is so crazy about them? How do you honestly feel about new immigrants coming to your country? Asking it since I want to move there someday. And Jaden Smith, please explain. Edit, thanks for all the responses so far. I'm reading through each one of them, especially the ones about high school, since that is something stereotypical in all media and ad influentum, and in reality seems quite different from the shows and TV/movies. I can answer your first question. I'm a high school teacher. The high school experience depends on the school. I wouldn't say there are strict divisions, but there are cliques. I don't know how to say that. However, most students just find the group of people that they're most comfortable with and stick with them. There isn't any art nerds, don't associate with jocks, business. The smaller the school, the more tight-knit the students. Also, from my own experience and observations, the kids whose parents have the most money are at the top of the provincial change, but the experience varies from school to school. Jaden Smith is a byproduct. Jaden Smith is a product of freestyle parenting and the modern equivalent of stream of consciousness. Such brilliant answer, Jaden Smith. There aren't any really strict divides between groups in high school anymore. In my experience, there's a lot of overlap between stereotypical groups. American high schools, they bring into song a lot, with heavily choreographed dance numbers and really high production values, like on that reality TV show. Oh, yeah, class divides. At my school, there wasn't really any cliques. You just hung out with your friends who were from different stuff. I remember, me personally, I played football, but I hung out with the people who wrestled, and I also played Yu-Gi-Oh! With these guys who, I don't know, I guess they were Yu-Gi-Oh! Nerds. But I hung out with them more than I did with my real friends, actually. So, that was pretty normal, though, for people to go around to different groups like that. As an Australian, I appreciate the sacrifice of the many Americans who lost their lives in defense of my country in World War II. At times, it can be quite fashionable to be anti-American and to highlight the negatives of the USA. I certainly don't think the USA is perfect, but I prefer you to an alternative. What's this picture? What? Holy fuck, some people don't get the American has over 300 million people across a plethora of beliefs. We don't have a hive mind going on here. If you hear one thing, there's most likely the person who disagrees with that. We have a wide variety of cultures and ethnicities that most countries don't have, or not as much. We have a wide amount of climates here. We have rural areas away from cities where they aren't exposed as much to foreign cultures and such, so all they can get is what they see in the media and news. Lifestyles vary greatly through different regions of the country. Yes, other countries are like that, but instead of having thousands of people in a hive mind, we can have millions in the hive mind and still make a small percent of the population, which is more likely to make news. Thousands of Americans or millions of people. What does this cause? More generalizations. Yes, other countries are like this, but this question always ends up just insulting America. Shut up, you're wrong. Go back to the Midwest. Alright. Damn, this is long. It was probably that 5-minute speech I gave in the beginning. Oh well, that's enough America talk.